Good evening, and thank you for joining us for another week of The Bottom Line. We thank you so much for allowing us to enter into your living rooms for yet the seventh week of our episode. From Wilmington to Dover and everywhere in between, we are promising you on every Monday night from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. that we are going to bring you nightly news that you can use. We'll be discussing very real and relevant topics and events that are happening right in your neighborhood. My name is Deneen White, and I'm filling in for your favorite host, Miss Nicole DeSarette. That's what we'll credit the stutter to in the beginning. So over the last several weeks, we've been discussing some very serious topics. Everything from violence that's plaguing our community, even highlighting a lot of our community leaders that are advocating for change. And just residents in our community that are standing up for that change. And so this week is not going to be too much different, but we are taking a somewhat different approach. We're actually hearing from the community today in a different respect. We'll be hearing from our youth and their perspective on a lot of issues that are happening in and around town. And we have some other special guests. So this week, as we promise every week, is going to be pretty dynamic. So we are not going to delay much further. We're going to go ahead over into Studio B and view our roundtable discussion and what's happening in and around Wilmington. And when we come back, I'll have it all together.
God bless you, everybody. Hello, everybody, everywhere. We greet you in the precious name of our Lord and Savior Jesus, who is the Christ. We say hello, and we're counting it down to Thanksgiving. State Rep Potter is here. We have a special guest here tonight, the awesome, we call him Tony Allen. He don't say he's awesome. He don't like to think of it. But we're going to get him out of here, too. But I want to tell his wife, I had him here on time. He going to leave on time.
I appreciate that.
On time? What's on time?
On time, brother.
Okay, that's right.
You know
Your
what I
wife
mean?
say
Look,
get home, be home.
That means on
That's
time.
right.
So, Rep, a lot of stuff going on still. Jeremy McDowell family still wanting justice for their son.
That case is still
We're
open.
still following that. And there was a heated, hot city council meeting Thursday night. I
heard about
some
that.
of the local folks were there. Hope, y'all tell CEO Hope to slow it down, but slow your roll, boy. Slow your roll.
Somebody else was at city council that you know.
Watch your mouth, boy.
Your brother D was there. D was there. He was just trying to. He was trying to conduct some business and understand where he came from. You know, he was trying to talk about what's going on in the community. And let me say this: you can agree to disagree with Derek, but he has some special talents that should be used. I said that.
No question about that. I think, Tony knows, Mr. Allen knows, they work together on the Hope Commission. I say we're different.
He has a lot of passion.
But he has a lot of passion, and and a lot of folks love him.
Right.
And so he brings a special niche to what he does.
Exactly.
And I'm excited about that. Also, a lot of folks talking about housing, a lot of folks talking about, next week I want to maybe get some children that's over at one of the Catholic schools. I'm not going to tell you, but they have singing group, mentoring, and all that going on.
So we're going to do it all.
Oh, good God.
Okay, but you know what? You got a special guest here tonight. You said you're going to get him
Well,
on time,
well, Mr. Allen.
20 years in, huh?
Bless you, sir. It's good to see you, man. How's the family?
Very good, thank you.
Yes, sir. You still, and look, he quoted a couple scriptures. I'm not impressed. He
I tried to memorize it before I got here.
Did you? He knows what to do. Let me say this. I know you're going to get right into the interview, but I've known Tony for a long time.
Yeah.
We grew up with Storm and Norman,
Absolutely.
With that league, and he coached my sons, and he's a really good person. And I'll say this. I know he's probably on shaking. One day, when he sees fit, Tony would make a great governor, great congressman. He needs to do something. He's done a lot in our community, banking, education. I know we're going to talk about education tonight.
How come he just can't be a great man?
He
Why
is,
gotta be a
and he's a good
elected
father.
Official?
Okay,
Why?
well, because
pushing
we
him.
need good people, more people at the table to
I
get
got
things
you.
done. But
All
let
right.
me stop. I know you want to get into
Stop
this
that,
interview.
man. Look, First of all, we want to thank you for what you've done with the Gilliam family.
Oh, thank you. I
God
appreciate
bless you.
Yes.
What you've done for the Urban League, we want to say it publicly. Did you know the story? Family court judge Poppy came to me, and he said, "We got a problem. We're arresting too many black kids. I can't do anything, Todd." I said, "I'm not lettered. You need somebody who." They said, "Oh, we know just a guy." I said, "And I don't write checks." So Gilliam Sr. had a check, and you had some letters behind your name. And so I want to commend you on that work, getting the Urban League off and running.
Oh, thank you.
And they're undergoing some stuff right now.
We're in transition, but we have gotten a lot of the old players back at the table.
Is that right?
And are refocusing the agenda on
What is the agenda? What's
principled advocacy,
Okay,
research,
okay.
and direct service programs as demonstration projects. We feel like we need to own the Black research agenda in Delaware, and then we need to be supporting our sister organizations like the NAACP and
Good,
IMAC
good.
and others behind the scenes
So
developing.
how does little people on the streets fit into the Urban League?
Well, you know what? Little people in the street are the Urban League. Our history has been 100 and some years old, and when Jim and I began the organization, what we said, and this was Jim Gilliam's legacy, as you know, we need to be as important and impactful in the boardroom as we were in the church basement. So our whole efforts have been about what are the issues facing people of color generally in Delaware? What do they need that they don't have from other organizations or institutions?
So you all
How can we
plan.
get there? to make
So
it
you all
happen?
plan to come up with the data to substantiate the work. Now, on another level, which I know is a passion to you, not only are you a great Bethlehemite. Yeah. Pastor Beeman, he did say that. So y'all, all the Bethlehemites over there, yeah, boy, yeah.
There's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. He don't sing in the choir, though. He ain't gonna sing nothing. But-
So he attends Bethel.
I
now
do.
for Beeman.
Yes, I do.
Yes, sir.
Good
And
man.
but he don't just attend; he goes. I mean, we,
Okay.
because I'll be watching them old, Sunday morning quarterbacks. He's not one of them. Speaking, when Ed gets here, y'all let me know because you know the Eagles won. I'm on.
Man, we don't want to talk about the Eagles. We
No,
want to talk
watch
some
your mouth,
education.
man. Watch
you
your
know.
mouth, man.
We're not gonna talk
watch
about
your
those
mouth.
dirty birds
You see how he do? See how he do? He say slip that in.
Slipped it in.
Yeah.
Slipped it in.
Liberation. Some would say true liberation is education.
Yep.
Talk about education in Delaware. Talk about how we get involved. Talk about some of the stuff that's been going
And
on. We got a little bit of time.
First, let me say thank you to both of you. I have a lot of respect for both of you. I've known you both for 20 years, and it's been a pleasure, and I've learned a lot. I'm a kid from Newcastle who's had a lot of experience in Wilmington, but I learned the most from people who are committed like both of you, so I'm glad to be here. Here's what I'd say, and I don't mean to be too tactical, but I want to get right to the point. There are 11,500 City of Wilmington children. There are 4 traditional school districts, 1 VOTEC district, and somewhere around 13 charters that educate them with no unified plan for their success. That has been the case for many years now. And just to level set for briefly, you'll remember in 1954, Brown versus Board of Education, historic Supreme Court decision. Had it not been for Delaware and the cases that went to the Supreme Court with Brown, there might not be a Brown. So we set the precedent in the state, yet we didn't enact any part of Brown for 20 years after that.
Say that again. We set the precedent.
Set the precedent for Brown, but we didn't enact any part of Brown for 20 years after the Supreme Court ruled. And then when
Why do you think that was?
Well, let me go further. And when we did enact, right, it wasn't General Assembly, the governor, any other legislative officials. It was a federal court order that got us to the place where we are today. So we have been about the business, and Representative Potter has been one of the chief architects here, about the business of trying to reform that in a way that respects kids and families in the city.
How do people on community level people, civic organizations, grassroots people, or just a person who's hearing Bottom Line for the first time, meeting Tony Allen for the first time, hearing this for the first time, how do they plug in right now?
Well,
to
before
where
you
they would
get into
make a
that, let me
difference?
just say Tony Allen is the chairperson of WEIC.
Right.
And that's the Wilmington Education
Improvement
Commission, which I'm on the task force. And that came
That's
about.
not why you're saying that.
No, well, it came about because we in the legislature, we were able to do something very unique without going to court.
That's right.
We were able to pass legislation to redistrict Wilmington from 4 school districts to 2, and that's unprecedented.
That's
and then in
beautiful.
addition to that, I did legislation that put a moratorium on charter schools because charter schools were just ripping our hearts out. We know since desegregation and that plan, that just took the community out. It cut our hearts out, no community. But with Tony's leadership and people working together throughout the state, throughout the city, we believe we can give our young people a better education. So I want him to dive right into that and talk about the main principles he's trying to get through.
Yeah, well, I'd say first of all, Representative Potter's being humble now because if it hadn't been for his advocacy along with State Senator Henry, Representative Boulder, and Representative Johnson, this would not have happened. We wouldn't have created the advisory
So
committee.
we applaud them.
You should.
Yes,
You
sir.
should, because it
Yes,
was
sir.
important in that regard.
Yes, sir.
And as I said, many people have tried to attack these issues in a substantive way. And I don't claim to be an educator.
Sure.
I'm a banker and hopefully a civic activist. But what I do know is if you have 11,000 children who have performed below standard for a long time, and you're in the largest city in the second smallest state in the union, you need to focus on them, their family, and their lot, their educational future, which is what we've tried to do. So we're focused in 4 areas. Representative Potter talked about one of them, reducing school governance. That's both on the traditional district side, 4 to 2, but also on the charter side. So I think there are a lot of great charter schools, by the way, but I think they vary in ability and focus area. Not all of them talk to the low-income black and brown children in the city of Wilmington. Some do, and many of those have not been successful as a result. So we think there is some oversight necessary to bring the charters in line as well.
What's the third one?
The third one is meeting the needs of students in poverty, which is also critical, right? So I think. I bet the three of us had some similar experiences when we grew up. I'm betting that, right? But what was unique to us is our community assets, and Representative Potter talked about this a lot, were pride. You went to PSD Pont, that was prideful.
City,
William Penn, that
from
was
the projects,
yeah.
right out. And let me just be clear too, a lot of people say, well, what's in the plan? One of the main parts of the plan is to do a weighted formula for education, and that's where the dollars come from. You know, we can't depend on referendums anymore, and a lot of people, particularly of different cultures, they say, well, your homes aren't valued enough, so you really shouldn't have the money. But if people are truly interested in educating all the children, it shouldn't matter what the value of your home is, and that's what the referendums do mostly.
Yeah, and let me tell you, the quality of life for all of us, I don't care if you're white, black, brown, what have you, if you live in the suburbs of the city, if you don't get the city of Wilmington right, I always said this, no great city, no great state. It's just not going to happen. So being able to understand that the school to prison pipeline is real and needs to be addressed is important. The other thing I'd say is this, 51% of all public school children in Delaware are low income. I didn't say Wilmington.
Right.
I didn't say
the state.
Wilmington. 51%.
Yes.
And that's got nothing to do with just black.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
See, for many folks, many folks put black faces on statistics or numbers, and they don't understand that it's all inclusive.
It is, and you know, in Wilmington, we had the best school district in the entire state for many years till DeSeg when they broke that up. And we're going to get back there to get our parents energized in the schools, to PTA meetings, get the young people back and get educated the way we need to, because once you get it up here in education, they can't take
That's
it away
true
from you.
liberation. Before you, I know we got,
we got a
jump.
minute.
I know we got. All right, from in 1 minute, 30 seconds. Folks need to know, how do I get involved, or what's at your heart? What would you say to a person?
So I started this last September.
Yeah.
I've literally had about 100 town hall meetings. I've met with decision makers throughout the state.
Right. Have you seen the participation that you would like?
I will always want more participation. What I would tell you, two things. If you go to Solutions for Delaware Schools, you'll not only see all of our meeting dates
Solutions
for Delaware schools.
Okay.
You'll not only see all of our meeting dates, you'll see the drafts of our plan. We have been a very open and transparent piece. We also have a Facebook page called Solutions for Wilmington Schools that has 2,000 members on it already.
Okay.
So we're working really hard. But I just came from a community meeting at Eastside, and what I told them is I'm open to all of the official meetings, but if you say, hey, Tony, I got 4 people you want to talk to, I'm going to talk to
And
those
there's
4
a meeting tomorrow, right?
That's right.
And where's that
It's
at?
at Bayer, in Christina.
What time?
I think we run at 6:30.
6:30. Yes.
6:30. Now, before you leave, talk to folks about. I know you do a lot of work around scholarships. I just happened to be in Dover at the governor's mansion one night, and you all were talking about raising money for kids. You still involved with that?
Yeah. I mean, as you all know, again, I think we have the same experiences. It's important that folks who normally don't get a chance get some doors open for them. And let me say this before you guys have to go. it's as much our responsibility, black folks who've achieved a certain level of success,
That's right.
as it is anybody else. As a matter of fact, it starts with
I
us.
want you to look right in the
It
Well,
starts
look,
with
let me
us.
say,
Look in the
because
camera.
guess what? We could have moved out of the city. My family stayed. He could have moved out of the city. His family stayed.
I
So
could've
when
moved
people
out of the
talk
city.
about, sure you can,
And my family stayed.
and your family stayed.
But look into that camera and tell them whose responsibility
It first starts with us, and I do mean those black folks, black and brown folks who've achieved some level of success, but still have aunties and uncles and nephews and nieces stuck in this system. They are looking to us to do something, and it's time for us to do it.
So I guess with that, we're going to take a short break or go back to Deneen. She's running the show. I guess I'll throw it back over to Deneen and let her tell us where we're going. Thank you.
Wow. Now, wasn't that an awesome segment on education? We definitely want to thank our special guest for stopping into the studio. But I must point out there's something really significant that he mentioned. I mean, there were several things. But one thing that he mentioned was that there's 11,500 children whom are educated with no uniform plan for success. I was monitoring the Bottom Line Facebook page, and I noticed that someone posted a poem. It's called "'Cause I Ain't Got a Pencil" by Joshua T. Dickerson. It says, "I woke myself up because we ain't got an alarm clock. Dug in a dirty clothes basket 'cause ain't nobody washed my uniform. Brushed my hair and teeth in the dark 'cause the lights ain't on. Even my baby sister ready 'cause my mama wasn't home. Got us both to school on time to eat us a good breakfast. Then when I got to class, the teacher fussed and said, 'cause I ain't got a pencil.'" Now, our children are dealing with some very, very serious issues. And when we talk about education, we first have to understand the children that we're trying to educate and the situations that they're living in. So if there's no uniform plan for success, who's actually doing the planning? It could be you. So step up and participate. Take action. Take action is always the way to getting anything done. So moving on, we want to definitely highlight some major events that are happening in the area. There's a live play happening at the Merriam Theater. Actually starts tomorrow, November 10th, and it'll be running through the 15th. Tomorrow, the show starts promptly at 7:30. It's being hosted by our very own OP. OP is actually in the studio, and he was so kind to put 2 tickets up for grabs. It's a first come, first served basis. So if you're interested in attending Tyler Perry's Medea on the Run, then you need to call AOP right away at 302-218-0554. That number again is 302-218-0554. And that's to see live at the Merriam Theater starting tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Tyler Perry's Medea on the Run. Now, we're going to go ahead and jump back over to our roundtable discussion where we have yet another guest in the studio who is going to be talking about some great things that they're doing. So stay tuned, and here we go.
Well, I'm just happy to be here tonight, and I got one of my really, really good friends, and I know Ivan's in the control room. If he could just put that picture up with my good friend Earl Tate. Let me tell you about Earl Tate.
Oh, before you do that, let me just. Tony Allen said a lot of stuff. You won't say it. I'll say it. Thank you for all the work that you're doing behind the scenes. The commission.
Yes.
And I mean, a lot of people don't know about your work with the commission, your work with the port,
That's
work,
right.
and that's unsung. And a lot of times you don't say nothing. I kid and joke with you because we are PS grads,
that's right.
and I expect
Yes.
nothing less. But thank you for all of that, and
Well,
thank
thank
Tony
you.
for saying what you're doing. Thank your wife for me.
Appreciate it.
You got this guy here.
We got Earl Tate, and let me tell you about Earl Tate. I got to do the build up Earl Tate. When I was growing up, elementary school and high school, Earl Tate was my scout teacher. Earl Tate was my
Yes.
mentor.
Yes, sir.
I mean, you're talking about a person from South Bridge, and Earl doesn't have a disability. He has an ability to do all things are possible through the Lord. When Earl was a young man, he had a tragic accident, He was hit by a car. He was drugged for a long time. But Earl didn't allow that to stop him from doing anything in
Not
his life. Earl
one
has the Lord
bit.
in his life. Earl's a volunteer. He gets up every morning, helps the young people get on the bus. He's a scout teacher. He's in the choir. He's a man of God. So Ivan, I want you to put the picture up of his book, and we're going to let Earl come in. I know you're going to say some things about Earl, but he has this book, A Smile of Thanks, The Reason Why I Smile. And if you've been through the tragedy and different things in life that Earl Tate has been through, and he tells you no matter what happens in life, he doesn't let it get him down. He's still a smile of thanks, the reason why I smile. And, you know, we can put that picture behind us. Say a few things about my good friend, Earl Tate.
Well,
You're a good friend.
Well, you said it all. You didn't say it all, but you said some good stuff. Look,
Right.
Earl, you know, the thing I like to about people is when people are people.
Right.
Not only has Earl, the book talks about the race is not given to the swift nor the battle to the strong, but they that endure to the end. And he has always taught others how to endure. You wake up in the morning, you look in the mirror, you say, I love you,
Right.
no matter what the world says or no matter what was handed to me, I'm going to give it 150%, and that's Earl.
That's Earl.
And when I see him, he go ahead, you do it. He hits me with the Fred G.
Or you put your hand out like this, and this is the whole thing. He checks how quick you are. This is Earl, right?
But I think his mentor, his Red Fox, died, so now he loves to get it.
No. This is the new Fred G. Sanford. And the G stands for Godfather. Period. Elizabeth, I'm not coming home yet, baby. There'll be no more of these, so you don't have to worry about the cheese.
Now, this is Earl all the way live.
It's called, look, now you know why it's called A Smile of Thanks.
And Earl is graced by the Lord. So, Earl, tell us about your book and why you wrote your book.
This is a threefold book.
Okay.
A threefold book. It tells you about the autobiography of my childhood, my poetry, dynamite poems in here, and also not to leave out the cooking.
Cooking. You can cook?
Oh yeah.
What do you cook,
Yes,
Earl? Come on
indeed.
now.
It had 2 dynamite recipes in here.
Get out of here.
What's in there?
What kind of recipe?
I
You better
did
be
a
careful.
steak.
You know abundance is here.
Hey,
And you know abundance be listening.
And if it's not the right food,
And if it's not the right food or too much,
abundance,
look,
abundance. This will make you say, yes, indeed. This will make you say, with your pants out.
Say it loud.
Yeah. Hey,
where do we get this at?
yeah. Plus, you could get it this coming Sunday at 3:00 at the Mother Church of God in Christ on 27th and Market Street.
Okay.
Be there.
What time?
Because 3:00. Because I'm gonna be there signing the book.
You signed the books?
Signing the
Oh,
book. and everything.
Lord, is he big?
Big
Look,
time.
big time.
Everything.
Earl, you
But-
signing them too.
But it has 2 recipes in here. One is for the dynamite meal that you eat for Thanksgiving or Christmas or New Year's or so, and the other one is a double. Not
double?
just one, but a double
Uh-oh.
double dessert that make you say,
Earl, let me
bad
see this. Tell me, through all your life and things that happened to you in your life, what gives you the inspiration to continue on?
Oh, hey, what gave me the inspiration is that I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. Hey, and I know because see, I'm like Solomon, wisdom, David, ability, Samson, the strength,
Okay.
and more. Hey, I'm like Paul. Paul was pressing on one way first, and then the other way the second. Hey, I'm like all of that and more, and more, because wisdom and knowledge is not just what you get in up here, but what you can give out.
Earl, what inspired you to write the book?
I had a lot of people encouraging me you should write a book. You should write a book. And one of my basic themes about the book is my theme poem,
Which is,
titled Think.
I see it right here.
Think, and it goes like this.
All right.
He who thinketh negatively has defeated himself, even before he begun. But he who thinketh positively with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding can claim the victory by faith, and it's all setting forth new goals and climbing higher heights that life holds no limit to it.
A smile of thanks.
Smile
what
of
you
thanks.
can
A
do.
smile of thanks.
The reason
Yeah.
why I smile. How much is the book, Earl?
The book is $10.
Okay.
$10 when you get it from me. But if you had to mail it, send in for it by mail, it's $15. But don't worry, you won't be wasting no money. You'll be getting your money's worth.
Well, you know what, Earl? I'm going to buy 10 tonight. You're going to have to sign that 10, and we're going to give them away on our next show.
Oh,
All right,
don't
we
worry.
do that?
Don't
So-
worry.
Okay.
I got her.
Okay.
God bless you. Sunday, Sunday at
At
27th
'Cause we got-
and
At 3
Market.
o'clock.
Sunday, 27th and Market, right here in the city. 3 o'clock. It's called the Mother Church.
The Mother Church of God in Christ.
Good God Almighty.
Hey, Earl sings, too. Did you want to hum something for us, Earl?
You gonna hum us
I
out?
can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. I can do all things through Christ. I can do all things through Christ. I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me.
And he can, believe me. I'm going to tell you, there's nothing, when you see people out on the streets or people who have the use of all their limbs and people who have abilities, a lot of people, young people who want to die instead of live, you know, look at Earl, no matter what the situation, he's life, living, a smile of thanks, and the reason why he smiles, he makes us smile too. So you want to say something in closing, Earl?
Hey, when you read the book and then you see, it makes you think how precious life is. So all that you can do, as long as you put God first, others second, and self last, hey, you can do it.
All right, we're going
I
to go
can
to
do
a
it.
short break. Stay tuned for the bottom line. We'll be right back.
Good evening and welcome to The Bottom Line. We're sitting here with Brittany.
Brittany Arley, how you guys doing?
We are going to be discussing the events that happened, the racially inspired events that happened at University of Delaware, as well as the president of that Missouri college resigning. And so we're going to get right into that.
So, you know, there's been a lot going on in diversity, and Brittany, I'm going to throw it back to you two, and I'm going to just jump in because we know what's happening at the university and what happened in Missouri today was really striking, but it tells me the power of our young people sticking together and being focused and getting things done.
Okay, I just want to say I'm a fan of things happening where we, instead of acting in such a manner of anger and, you know, fighting back with fists,
Right.
that we do peaceful things like boycotting or sitting out or just peaceful protests. I respect things like that. I think that those things go much further than using fists and using anger. The whole point is to just point out their flaws and not so much make us look bad in the process, you know what I mean? And let that cause change.
True.
What do you think?
I'm definitely for peace. However, I also think that we should look at things in a larger scale. For example, when we're talking about Missouri, it was the politically correct thing to do. However, if we look deeper into the NCAA and how our athletes, our children who are getting so-called scholarships, not academic scholarships, our NCAA gets paid. So when the college football
Right.
team said, "Hey," it was like, let's not mess with our
Let's
money.
talk now.
That's slavery. Let's talk. So I just don't want us to be confused about these things because we often get very emotional when things are racially inspired, and I keep saying that because we are dealing with white supremacy, whether we want to deal with it or not.
Right.
So on one level, yes, we should be peaceful about it. However, I think our education, since we're talking about education, needs to change. change. We always get educated in their box and go work for their schools and start working in their institutions. Our education needs to change so that our reaction to these things change. And if our reaction change and we remain civilized, then we won't ever have to be on the defense. We can start taking some offense.
Exactly.
Which means we won't ultimately be reacting.
Right, emotionally, which usually inspires anger and things like that. So I agree with you, sis, but I just think that we need to open up our focus as far as history, why these things are happening. We have to look at the history of Delaware. You go to University of Delaware?
I don't.
Oh, okay. So I went to Delaware State University,
Delaware
for example.
State.
I was a political science history major. We were forced to study the history of Delaware. The same things that were going on then are going on now. It's just that we have cell phones and things like that. So we need to really take a look at where we were historically and where we're going now if we really want to have an open dialogue about what's going on in the reaction of administrators, politicians, and even ourselves as citizens. So I would like to talk about that.
What happened is that the University of Delaware was supposed to have a diversity study done over 6 months ago, and it still hadn't got started. Delaware State, although it's an HBCU, the college is changing. Wilmington University is a pretty mixed college as well here, but I think what we're learning is that we say all people matter. We know Black Lives Matter, but what happened there is the black students, the white students, the Asian students came together, but the biggest point was when that football team said,
Right.
we are not going to play this Saturday, we're going to boycott the game, and they thought they were going to lose millions, then they came on
Come
board.
on now.
But you also had a young guy who was on a hunger strike for 8 days. He said until this was going to end, he was on a hunger strike. So you got to do what you need to do. So, these things are possible, and Delaware is way behind, and University of Delaware has to get up to speed. Because you were down there, you did a couple interviews, and what did you find from those interviews?
I found first of all, let me just say, I was surprised at all the racism that was happening at the University of Delaware. The black people who I know who attend there, they never personally told me that was what was going on. But then I go to the rally, and I'm there to really educate myself on what the situation is. I heard about the new situation and the fact that was not even all that was talked about. Many students came up and just discussed how they experienced racism just walking down the campus, and that's just unacceptable. I found it unacceptable how prior to that, and other institutions, schools, or what may have you, if you're going to accept the money and going to accept the value that your black students or your black employees are going to be giving you, you have to make it so that they are comfortable walking on your campus and coming into your buildings and receiving your service. You have to.
But doesn't it beg to, you really got to think about this president of the University of Missouri, jumping back to that, he could have said, let's forge change, but he decided to resign. What do you think happened there? What could be the thought processes for somebody to do that?
Well, I think that you always need somebody to blame. You always have to, and it's always going to be the person who's in charge that has to get cut. And so, like I said, they voted on it. The board said, yes, we approve this message. And he had to go, but yet he's still involved on the campus. Like, we have to understand that these colleges and universities, they have money funded into these private prison industrial complex. Like, it's so much more than the emotional things that we keep talking about. I kind of roll with Malcolm X when he said only a fool sends their children to be educated by the open enemy, and we know who the open enemy is. So what's going on in the city of Wilmington with the redistricting and things like that, that's very important. We have to have some type of control in our systems. And you said going to their schools and being comfortable. When I was in college in the 90s, they allowed the Ku Klux Klan to have a march right there on Cleveland Avenue. They were doing the nooses back then. This is nothing new.
Down at Delaware State?
No, at University of Delaware. They put nooses on a Cabbage Patch doll. It was in the newspaper. I lived in those apartments right off of Paper Mill Road, and I came out, was scared to death. I'm like, really? This is a march?
Right.
They're allowing the Ku Klux Klan to march. So Ku Klux Klan is not necessarily in their white cloths anymore. They're sitting at the head of establishments and police departments, and some of us are even black skinned. So, like, we just have to really, to me, like, we have to really get back into the home life situation and start with the education there.
Absolutely. Now, I'm curious to know that you said that a lot of students at University of Delaware would never speak about the racism that was happening on campus. And you know,
Isn't that
I've-
interesting?
that's been happening for years, like Abundance said. And do you believe that they're not speaking up because they're kind of just, it's easier just to kind of turn a deaf ear to it as opposed to fight for it, you know? And how do they get to a place where they can, you know, connect with maybe a group or organization or somebody that can make them feel more powerful to stand up and fight for their rights?
Well, when I spoke to, I believe I spoke to the president of that school. Her name is escaping me for some reason, but she did. I did an interview with her. She did say that certain things are coming into place. That she's actually happy and proud that the students pulled that together, that peaceful rally together to bring up the issue, and they are putting together a diversity. I forget the wording that she said, but they're actually being very proactive on the matter. So the establishment of the college itself is definitely planning on doing something. It's just that she also found it disturbing that this is acceptable, that it was acceptable that something was not done prior to that. As far as the people who I know who go to the University of Delaware, I don't think it's so much that they are just trying to turn a blind eye to it. I think that maybe it happened so often that they were just used to it. I know even myself.
And that becomes a problem. You know,
It does
because you
become a
think
problem.
right.
Like when people do racist things to me, you know, I'm mad for it about the day, but do I really do something about it?
Right.
Do I-
See, that's
you
it.
know
Or
what
do
I
you
mean?
just tell yourself to get over it because it's a new day and time, you know, it's not the Malcolm X day. I mean, the you know,
Right.
Martin Luther King marching in the street, you know, Black Power type day.
It could be, I mean, it could be a number of things. Like me personally, I like to necessarily keep the peace. You know, I may cuss them out in my head. I may say something out
Gotcha.
loud,
But
but
you know what you
to
gotta
go
get used
home
to
and
doing?
create an establishment or some kind of movement to say, hey, this happened to me. Let me go find other people who it's happened to.
Can I make a
So do
suggestion to
this.
you?
Go ahead.
Because you know how to deal with it, but becoming a leader, and you are, and all three of you are leaders, and I got 3 women here today. You know, this is kind of different. Power to the women. But you got to do some things different to kind of set the stage, because we know you 3 can take care of yourself. But what about the people who can't? But if you make
Right.
that your point
Absolutely.
very strongly, and I do this all the time because I got to make strong points, so when they see that person that won't take care of themselves, they got to think in their mind, I still better treat this person the right way.
Right.
So you got to set some guidelines and some principles.
A
Teach
standard.
people how you want to be treated.
That's right. It's posture. You know, you have to teach people how to treat you.
Exactly.
Yeah, so-
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I absolutely agree with that.
Change is going to come. You know, we can't just keep being beat down if people, you know, your silence is agreement. If you don't
I
say
agree with
something,
that.
and when you talked about the students who were afraid to say something.
She didn't
did
say
you-
that
not
they were
afraid,
Not
afraid.
what were you
necessarily
saying?
afraid. They just hadn't. They just hadn't voiced it to me, and I haven't really heard a lot about what was going on personally. So maybe it was just not being said enough.
Right.
You
They've
know
been
what I
so
mean?
pacified as a people. It's at this point, it's like we know that their brothers are going to get shot in wheelchairs. We've got, they care more about their animals, you know, police officer's dog gets shot and killed or whatever, however that dog did, but he gets locked up. But
Right.
Trayvon Martin's killer is still riding around. We've been pacified because we feel as though there's nothing that we can do. We talk about our communities, however, we're renting in those communities. We're not homeowners, so
Right.
therefore school taxes and things like that don't apply to us. So we feel as though we have no voice.
Well, I think you must create a voice. We had to, you know, everybody here is an entrepreneur, basically, I know. You had to start buying homes, which most of you own homes. You know, you had to create your own power. You just can't depend on the man, as to say.
Correct.
So I know we got like 2 minutes. I know you each want to say something about what's
you had
going
more
on.
time.
Well, not just on this, but whatever you want to talk about. I mean, there's a lot of issues. We live in a time now where things are really volatile. You know, you thought the equal rights would do something, but we had to get more rights. So whatever you want to say.
I'm totally in agreement with Abundance when it comes to educating our children in the home.
Yes.
Because
Yes,
that's
okay,
ultimately
that's
where
important.
it begins.
Yes.
And so, you know, it's a different day and mothers aren't home. being domestic, receiving their children from school all the
That's
time.
right.
75% of us are raising our children by ourselves without the help from the biological father, and we have gotten help from the state. So that's really our boss. That's really our mate. And that pencil poem that you read was perfect
It was.
because now we have children like I don't even have a toothbrush. I don't,
Yep.
Right, like
Absolutely.
that
Your
assistance
best food was the food that you got at
School.
at school.
Right.
Yep.
Like
Right.
that assistance, what is that doing about the time that is spent in the home actually teaching the child to have self-esteem, to actually want to go get an education? It was a question that I wanted to ask you guys talking about the offense instead of just the defense. With education being the key to success, with building a child's self-esteem and self-worth being the key to success, what is something that the community can do? What is something that an everyday minority person can do to help that child who maybe their mother doesn't have time to come home and do all these things for them? Like, what is something that can be
Are
done
you talking
for
more about what they consider a latchkey child, where the child
yeah,
comes
latchkey
home
child, or maybe
we have life-sustaining organizations that are supposed to be out there to help. We have organizations like the PAL and other centers that's
Right.
supposed to bridge the gap, but a lot of those services were cut away first when the budgets are tight. They try to cut them away. We had to get those life-sustaining institutions back. And this is a conversation we're going to continue on next Monday. So let's stay tuned next Monday. We're going to continue this conversation. And
Let's see how we can cut the budget on keeping people in jail and put it on to the
Come on
part
now.
of educating
Exactly.
our children.
So what we're going to do now, we got our sports guy here. We know all these Eagle fans around here. And, again, when I was driving up the highway the other day, I saw these dead birds laying around. I thought they were Eagles, but the Eagles stink. Ed, take it away, Ed. Go ahead, Ed.
and on that note,
All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the sports segment of the show. Ty, your victory is going to be short-lived because the Eagles ain't gone nowhere. Let me just say that. Baseball, I know the baseball season ended a couple weeks ago, but all the one here last week didn't get a chance to mention it. But I just want to mention that I was wrong about my prediction on this World Series. I predicted the Mets would win in 6 games when the new world champs, the Kansas City Royals, won in 5 very competitive games. Congratulations to the Royals. And Charles, y'all took my top story. Just want to say Missouri players pressure university leaders over race by announcing strike. Okay, the students' protests over racial incidents at the University of Missouri campus escalated over the weekend, which at least 30 black football players announced they will not participate in team activities. For months, black student groups have complained of racial slurs and other slights on the overwhelmingly white 35,000 student campus. Their frustrations flared during the homecoming parade October 10th when black protesters blocked Wolf's car and he would not get out to talk to them. They were removed by police. Their students were removed by police. On Saturday night, black members of the football team joined the outcry. And when they knew that they was going to lose $1 million if they didn't play that football game, this guy stepped down. The student athletes of color on the University of Missouri football team truly believes injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And the players said in the statement, and they also said that we are united. Mr. Wolf stepped down from office today, as we all know, and it's a good thing. All right, another college football news. Clemson replaced Ohio State as the AP #1 team in the country, followed by number 2 Ohio State, number 3 Alabama, number 4 Baylor, Oklahoma State 5, Notre Dame 6, Stanford 7, Iowa 8, LSU 9, and Utah 10. I just want to say that my Alabama Crimson Tide jumped 4 spots from number 7 to number 3 as they whipped the then number 2 LSU Tigers Saturday night 30-16. They held the best running back in the country to 31 yards on 16 carries. As Mr. Henry, the running back for Alabama, rushed for over 200 yards. Okay, moving on. The Sixers, NBA. The Sixers, they are one of 3 teams yet to win a game this season. They are 0-6, and the other teams are the New Orleans and the Brooklyn Nets are 0-7. The Sixers probably will have another dismal season. The Golden State Warriors have started the season as they finished last season. Hot, hot, hot. Steph Curry is just unbelievable. Simply amazing. Leads the NBA in scoring of more than 30 points per night. If the Warriors stay healthy, They are going to be tough to beat. Now the NFL. Breaking news. The Rams are said to going to sign former New England Patriots Wes Welker to a contract. We don't know how long it is yet because it just came over to AP. And the Eagles beat my Cowboys last night 33-27 in overtime. It was an exciting game. And however, I don't think either one of the teams are Super Bowl bound. And, you know, they're not even close. The New England Patriots are still the best team in the NFL and are still undefeated. The 3 undefeated teams remaining are New England Patriots, Cincinnati Bengals, and surprising Carolina Panthers. Denver fell from the ranks of the unbeaten with a loss at the Colts on Saturday night. You know, it's going to be tough for Denver. I don't know if Manning is losing or whatever, but that guy poked one of the players in the eyes, and he's going to be suspended for a game. He knows who he is. And I just want to finish up by saying Jimmy Johnson celebrated winning the NASCAR Sprint Cup race at Texas Motor Speedway on Sunday. That's it for sports. Everybody have a good evening.
All right.
Absolutely wonderful segment tonight, right, ladies?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, wow. The bottom line, I tell you, continues to bring it each and every week. Just as a reminder, we're here each and every Monday live from studio at Channel 28 from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. You can see the replay of our show on this Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. And you would be able to invite your friends and family to experience exactly what you experienced this evening. We've discussed some very, very really critical and sensitive topics in relation to education and racism and all the things that are happening in and around our community. I do want to let you guys know that we do have a winner for Tyler Perry's Madea on the Run. Don't zoom in because I didn't get my nails done, but Tyler Perry's Madea on the Run. We have a winner. And I do want to put a disclaimer out there that it was first come, first served. The first person to call in got the ticket. So we want to congratulate Miss Shirley Jones for winning 2 tickets to the live Madea on the Run starting tomorrow. Also, Veteran Day is this Wednesday, November 11th. There was a food bank in Wilmington at Rodney Square today, and there's one happening in Dover tomorrow. They'll be collecting donations all day long. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Bye.